Member of the Appropriations, Financial Services, and Commerce Committees. And Congressman, thank you for being here today.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me join you.
Why don't we talk a little bit about this plan to lower the gas tax that you've put forward? Do you want to describe it for us?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, right now we're dealing with high gas prices. We're talking now about high gas taxes, and the federal government for a long time has been charging an excise tax on fuel. Every time a consumer goes to the pump, puts a gallon of gas in their tank, they're paying 18.4 cents to the federal government. But there's so many states like Georgia where all those tax dollars are going to the federal government and they're getting a terrible return. They're actually losing 11% or more in some cases every year, and that's the case in Georgia. We're just saying, hey, let's devolve this back to the states. The excise tax, the purpose of it has been complete. It was established in 1956 to build the interstate system. Let's say mission complete, and move it back to the states and empower the states. And we know it can be done more efficient. It can be done at a less of a cost, and the priorities can be focused on from the state level instead of mandated from the federal government.
The national highway system has been built, but I would hardly say mission accomplished. If you take a look at the fixes and the upgrades that are constantly needing to be done, sir, how would you handle those additions if you didn't have that fund?
Well, all those things will be done within the states, and if we empower the states and get the federal government out of the way, we wouldn't have all of these problems. I mean, the state of Georgia, where I hail from, is one of those states that has been giving over $800 million away to other states, or it's actually been taken from the state of Georgia taxpayers and given to other states. Why not empower the 28 states that are donor states that have been, in essence, robbed from over the last 5-10 years, and empower them to build the infrastructure that is most important to them? Then you wouldn't have the problems that you're describing. Right now, we just have a bureaucracy that's in the way that we're paying $400 million a year to fund, and yet we still have the problems that you just described.
I can understand your frustration at paying in more than you get out, but isn't that the entire point of the federal government? I mean, you don't get to take out exactly what you want. That's almost an argument against not putting any money or any taxes that go towards the federal government.
Well, if people believe that you shouldn't get the government you pay for, then yeah, you would certainly line up with that argument. I believe that you empower the taxpayer, you empower the states, and the model that the federal government's used for far too long has not been working. That's why we have a debt and deficit crisis. We've empowered the wrong group of folks. Let's empower the taxpayer and empower the states. We'll have better results each and every time.
Do you have a viewpoint, Congressman, on just whether taxes on gasoline are good? Like, there are people,
Mike Jackson,
smart people, that say crank it up there, migrate people to smaller cars. You can find something decent to do. Let's keep it in the states. States could find something to spend the money on. You could get people driving smaller cars and that get 50 miles to the gallon, and maybe use the taxes for schools or fixing roads in your own state. Is that something that makes sense?
Well, I believe it should reside within the state and allow the states to make those decisions, what the rate should be,
so this is
what the tax is on.
This is a federalist thing to you. It has nothing to do with whether gas taxes are good or a positive or a negative. You don't have a feeling.
Right.
Okay.
And under the model it's under right now, and that is it's taken away from the taxpayers in any state, it's turned over to the federal government, and then the federal government mandates how it's spent. So 50% of it right now is only going to roads and bridges. The other 50% is going to mandates from the federal government, whether it's bike paths or walking paths or planting bushes. Is that the priorities that are most important right now to moving people and freight? I don't think so, but let's let the states make that decision.
Yeah, obviously it's something that takes on a lot more urgency when you look at how quickly gas prices are rising right now. What kind of support do you have in the Congress?
We've had an amazing amount of support. Actually, we've had more co-sponsors for our model than the current highway proposal that's going through the House right now. So we've had a tremendous amount of support, and there's a simple reason for it, and it's a 21st century solution to a 20th century problem. It's time to move on and apply a different solution to an old problem that we've had.
Would you be okay with that tax remaining a federal tax if there were ways to strip out all the waste that you just talked about the 50% that goes to things that are not for the national highway system?
I mean, that's a good theory. I think that sounds great, but you know, history's on our side. That never happens in the federal government. I'm for let's just push it back to the states where it belongs and allow the states to determine what their spending priorities are and what their tax rates should be.
All right, Congressman Graves, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Coming up, more of CNBC's exclusive interview with Facebook co-founder